The long-awaited day has arrived. I've been talking about this for at least 6 months, since last fall when we installed this frost-free hydrant. Today is the day we begin building our greenhouse. Of course, no project would be complete if we didn't have to prepare for it first. We've got to prepare by moving this chicken coop out of the way. This is where the greenhouse is going to be, is where this chicken coop is. If we built it, it would be encased inside. That's not going to work well for us. I've got an idea on how to do it. It's really heavy. A while ago I moved it and it took forever, but I got a better idea this time. Hopefully it works out. Put your board in that side. Push down on it. Are you ready? Huh? Are you ready? Yeah. Hey, don't push on the gas at all. Just let off on your brake. On your mark, get set, go! Okay, give it the smallest amount of gas you can. We used up all of our daylight, but we got it moved. That's all we had to move it. It's about 12 feet or so. That greenhouse is only going to be 10 feet wide, so we just had to get it moved that far. It's out of the way now. It will end up going clear over yonder somewhere, perhaps right here. Not in the back of the pickup, but over here. It's going to get moved over there eventually, but for now it's out of the way so we can get this greenhouse started. Our next step in this project this morning is to get this portion all fenced off. We're going to include it in the garden fence so that the animals can't get in there. Nothing's going to come from the garden into it. But as we're digging around and moving stuff, I don't want animals getting in there, especially the chickens, and stirring up the work that we've done. They'll dig through the soft dirt that we make and just make a mess of it. So that's where our plan is this morning, is to get things fenced off. Now that we've got everything moved and cleared out, it's all fenced off. I've made some rough measurements of where my corners are going to be, taken a few measurements of distances that we need to make calculations from. So that's our next step, is to make some calculations, figure out exactly where our corners are going to be, and then we'll stake those out and be ready to start digging. We got rained out last night trying to do this. We got about 2 inches of rain in 4 hours, which is kind of unheard of for us. Our normal precipitation for an entire year is 13 inches. So 2 inches in one day is quite rare, let alone in like a few hours. But yeah, so we got rained out. So we're back again today. I got to mark out where the corners are, and then our next step is to start digging. So we're gonna put some, I don't know what you call them, some like bracing that we can run a line on. It's got a name. Maybe I'll put it right at here, I don't know. But we're gonna put some of that up so we can just draw a line out and know exactly where everything's supposed to go, so that we can take it down and put it back up as we need to. We're at least gonna get as much as we can done before that rain moves in. Looks like more rain coming today. We're actually supposed to get rain for the next few days, which is quite rare for us. It has taken me a while to get back to this project. Normally I like to knock these things out, but we have had more rain this year than I have seen in a long, long time, if possibly ever in this area. We got rained out for about 3 weeks straight. Days getting an inch of rain in a day, which is totally unheard of around here. We're finally back to this. What we are doing now, we got the line marked out, marking our corners mostly. It's marking the outside edge of where this footing is going to go. But mostly we're marking the corners so we kind of have a reference point to put boards down. At the moment, much of this line is buried in the grass and weeds that we've got here. Like I said, all this rain's made things grow like crazy, more than we're used to. But right now, what I'm working on is actually digging out so we can make this spot level where these boards are going to go. We're going to kind of work around and do 2 different projects at the same time. So 1, we're making it level. 2, we're making the actual forms for our footing. These forms are really, really simple. All we did was took a piece of OSB. We had Home Depot cut it down into 1-foot strips for us. So it's going to be 1 foot wide by 8 feet long. And then we attached a 2x4 on each end to sturdy that up. And that's what we'll brace off of. Concrete will be poured on this side. Super easy, not anything real fancy or complicated, but we're gonna get those put together and get our dirt dug out so that we can start getting this all level.
It's always a dangerous game to play because the first time you teach them positions, they're afraid to move.
Yeah. We've spent a good while getting all these forms in, and I've spent the last several hours doing a little river dance, trying to get some dirt flat inside so that we can move on to our next step. If you noticed, some of the corners I left without the, what are these things called? I left without the forms in place. That is because I've got to be able to slide rebar in from the side. I could probably make it work, but it's really tight because it's only a 10-foot section. My rebar is 10 feet. We're gonna tie this in to the existing foundation of this shop shed thing, whatever you want to call this. We call it our shop. It's not very big. We've got some little chair things that the rebar sits on, and we're gonna use a Hilti drill to just punch some holes in the side of that existing foundation and get some rebar put in there. I got some epoxy that I can hook the rebar in with. That epoxy has to sit for about 4 hours and set up. So while we are waiting for that, let's look at bending some rebar. I came up with kind of a plan to do this, gave it one trial, worked out pretty well. Super simple way to bend rebar. Rebar is not that hard to bend, especially in smaller sizes. I mean, if you're doing some like industrial building, yeah, they've got some huge rebar that's probably really hard to bend. But small rebar, not difficult. We're gonna bend this today using just the edge of the flatbed pickup. An overlap for this size of rebar doesn't need to be very big. I'm going for 2 feet, which I believe is overkill. We're not gonna get exact, but I do wanna give myself at least 2 feet. So we're gonna throw a measuring tape on here. Doesn't help if I don't mark where I measured at. Right about there. Simply stick this into the edge of the pickup, roughly where I want my bend at, and then I just give it a pull. And it bends really nice and easy. I don't think I'll have to cut any rebar. In fact, I know I'm not going to cut any rebar because I don't have anything to cut the rebar with, which for this is fine. If I was doing something different, I'd probably find some way to cut it, but for what we've got going on, it'll be fine just to bend it like that. We'll let that epoxy set up and we'll come back in a few hours and get this last little bit, the corners put in and the rebar in, and then we just got to wait for concrete to show up. We finally got everything put in. I've got the forms in, I've got the concrete in, it is attached to the existing foundation of the shop. All the ties are in, everything's level. We are set except for concrete. So the last thing we need is concrete. This has taken forever. Like, we're talking 3 months now. We might have to have the same wait to get some concrete in here because this is a short load. There's one company who does short loads in the area. I couldn't mix it by hand, but it's like 90 bags of 80 pounds of concrete bags. So I don't want to do that. So I'm gonna get somebody to come bring it in, but it's only about 1.5 yards we need, which is a short load. And so we are gonna have that company come do it for us when they get a chance, when we get it all scheduled. So that is our next step coming up right now.